afternoon to you all. My name is Jamir and I'll be coordinating today's lecture along with my colleague Eyingbeni. And this is the sixth lecture in a series of lectures, the Morung Express and Morung for Indigenous Affairs and Justice has been organizing to raise issues and discourses on various issues surrounding us. To this lecture, role of religion in promoting inter-tribe harmony among Nagas. We know religion has played a very great role in construction of Naga modern identity and body since 19th century. One can simply say that from the 10th century onwards, Naga have also risen above village identities to become embodiment of tribes. So the question to ask in this context is, has religion brought this tribe closer in pan-Naga peoplehood, or what is the role of religion in promoting inter-tribe harmony among the Nagas, among the Naga people, and what are its future prospects? And to elaborate and to address this issue, we have three accomplished and distinguished speakers among us today. And without wasting much time, I give the first speaker today is Elias Lotha, who is currently the president of Catholic Association of Nagaland. He has worked as a prolific rights activist since his youth and continued to work to that effect through his work with Naga People's Movement for Human Rights. So I invite him to take the stage.
Thank you, Morung. I take it as a privilege and a great opportunity to get along to you a message which I feel will, along the way, help us think and work for a better tomorrow. At the very outset, I would like to mention that looking at the audience, I do not know whether we have other religions except Christianity in the conclave. So I feel I will take the privilege of comfortably giving a Christian context to this topic. I would like to refrain from an academic presentation. Rather, I will take us to a scenario which I believe have warranted the organizers, the choice of today's topic. It is needless for me to mention that this is a very appropriate topic for discussion, and I'm sure that we will be able to positively contribute to building our society through this discourse. I would not like to feign knowledge of the various religions of the world. Yes, religion plays a great role in the life of our society. The reception of the message of religion also varies from person to person. This is one reason because of which we have extreme forms of religious practices where in the name of religion, fellow human beings are tortured and persecuted. In brief, dehumanized for their faith. We are also made to understand that human beings benefit a lot from religion and religious practice, a benefit that extends to other living beings too in some cases. Religious practice promotes the welfare of individuals, family, and the community. Healthy family life, strong marriages, and well-mannered and obedient children are linked to regular presence in religious events. The practice of religious principles leads to rise in physical and mental health, longevity, and educational accomplishment. This also means that there is a sharp decline in incidences of domestic abuse, crime and substance abuse, and addiction. Furthermore, These effects are intergenerational, as these benefits are passed on from one generation to another. In brief, it suffices to say that regular practice of religion has beneficial effects in nearly every aspect of social concern. It is also a fact that religious practice correlates with a high rate of care and concern for others. Quote unquote, religiously active men and women are often more sensitive to others, more likely to serve and give to those in need, and more likely to be productive members of their communities. Today's topic draws me to remind us that we belong to Christianity, a faith bestowed upon us by our Lord Jesus Christ. Herein then lies the simple question before us: how good a Christian am I? It is only natural for us as Nagas that we talk in straight language, bare and without any prejudice. Now, where are we, the Naga Christians, today? We take much pride in saying that we are Christians, that we attend Sunday services, that we do not smoke, that we do not chew pan or drink alcohol, that we are unlike our neighbor who smokes, chews, pan, drinks, etc. Christ came for the sinners. He spoke for the poor, the oppressed, the abandoned, and above all, He sought out the sinners and welcomed them. Can we declare that we do not covet our neighbor's wife, that we do not covet our neighbor's goods, and we are still Christians? We see. What is the situation of the Naga Christian churches? We have numerous faith-based organizations that do not truly converge in the translation of the way of the Lord. We have church organizations of this tribe, that tribe, etc., but never a fellowship to believe and worship together without our tribe color. Consciously or otherwise, we are bracketing each other into tribe pockets and not as Christians collectively. Respect for pluralism rather than singularism by inculcating universality can pave a way, a threshold for social harmony. In the context of Naga tribal ethnicity, the most evocative philosophy is victory and domination over one another, thus culminating in the form of tribalism and grouping which we witness every day and which are very alien to Christian values. The present intertribal relationship amongst the Naga tribes is defined religiously in this twist. Oftentimes, the church in Nagaland refers to the Baptist churches, albeit the presence of other churches like the Catholic Church, the Pentecostal Church, etc. Every individual is defined by what he or she is taught to believe, which means that belief in a certain respect is the destiny of humanity in the world of the Nagas. Seemingly, or as a matter of fact, the church in Nagaland or the Naga society does not signify holiness as desired, and the explicit gestures of this embodiment becomes a fallacy in many facets. Our social front presents a more gloomy picture. We have tribal divides, a society fractured into Tenimia People's Organization, Eastern Naga People's Organization, Central Naga Tribal Council, Naga Tribal Council, Naga Hoho, United Naga Council, etc. At a political front, our fratricidal history does not need any elaboration, as it still continues, though much less in scale. We allow evil to take control over us and take much pride in rushing into violent action at the sound of a distant drum. We may recall the 5th March 2015 incident at Morung. Without any responsible thought, it has become very natural for us to open up a conversation by inquiring from our companion, what people are you? Keyho was saying. From which tribe are you? From which village or place are you? We never identify each other as a fellow human being with the same dignity as anyone. All this and more inform us that we truly and very urgently need to transform our own selves, including our attitude first, before we take on matters beyond us. The church must take the lead and come out from its conformistic milieu to transformative and rewarding mission for positively impacting the society through practice of Christian values. The role of the Christian churches for promotion of inter-tribe harmony is as clear as the command of our Lord Jesus Christ. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Matthew 22:39, Mark 12:31. Jesus did not tell us to love our sister or brother as we love ourselves. Here, I would like to share some Catholic Church approach to society and society building through her social teachings, which are a set of biblical principles, the practice of which can help us transform our Naga tribes to truly a Christian community, thus help in ushering a harmony among one another. The first of the principle being the dignity of the human person. The Bible tells us that God has imprinted His own image and likeness on man, conferring upon him an incomparable dignity. This belief goes on to inform us that in every person there is that image and likeness of the Creator, our God. Does it mean anything if I say that I honor, worship, praise, thank and glorify God, but fail to respect or care for that image and likeness of God present in my neighbor? Am I not failing you on this front? Am I not failing my neighbor? Am I not failing my fellow Naga members? This takes us to the second principle, which calls for upholding and for promoting the family. The human person is not simply an individual, but is also a member of our community. Failing to acknowledge the community aspects lead to a radical individualism. A full understanding of the person considers the social aspects of the individual. The first social consideration in order and importance is the family. It is the basic unit of society, and it predates and in a sense surpasses all other societies in a community. We are required to emphasize the importance of the family in particular, the importance of fostering stable marriages where children are welcomed and educated. This further takes us to the next principle, working for the common good. Common good, according to Pope John the 23rd, is defined as the sum total of social conditions which allow people, either as groups or as individuals, to reach their fulfillment more fully and more easily. This good is common because only together as a community and not simply as isolated individuals is it possible to enjoy, achieve, and spread this good. All people are obligated to work towards making common good a greater and greater reality. Sometimes the common good may be misunderstood to simply mean the common desires or interests of the multitude. But a common good is not simply the sum total of particular interests. Rather, it involves an assessment and integration of those interests on the basis of a balanced hierarchy of values. Ultimately, it demands a correct understanding of the dignity and the rights of the person. The common good, in other words, is not simply what people happen to want, but what would be authentically good for the people, the social conditions that enable human flourishing. Participation and solidarity are the other two fundamental principles in the Catholic social thought, which are primary for the common good. Participation is a duty to be fulfilled consciously by all with responsibility and with a view to common good. Solidarity is a firm and persevering determination to commit oneself to the common good. This is to say the good of all and each individual, because we are all really responsible for all. The journey of the Church does not end in establishing inter-tribe harmony. Harmony amongst the tribe is the beginning of a new journey, for much needs to be pursued and accomplished as members of the Naga tribes and as members of the Christian community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lotha, for that concise vision for the future. Our next speaker for the day is Dr. Eyingbeni Humtsoe-Nienu, who is currently a senior lecturer at Clark Theological College in Morung. She has been teaching Christian doctrines and gender theologies for 11 years now. Author and editor of several essays and books, she has greatly enriched our understanding of Naga Christian theology, and today she will hopefully do more about that.
Respected moderator, Ms. Aheli, my fellow facilitators, Mr. Elias and Dr. Zelhou, and esteemed members present in the hall. I take this opportunity as a great privilege and want to say thank you to the organizers, particularly to Aheli and Moa. I think what the two organizations, Morung Express and Morung for Indigenous Affairs and Just Peace, is doing is invaluable contribution to our society and also to our state in general. So congratulations to both the bodies for creating a much needed space for harnessing collective wisdom. To be honest, I'm standing here without any impressive credential as far as peace work is concerned. But I took up this challenge as I have said, as a privilege because of my faith in the God of peace and also because of my personal belief in the goodness of peace. And I think these two reasons are worthy enough for anyone to undertake this task. So here I am. I think that the topic that has been chosen by the organizers could not have come at a better time when the Apex Naga body, the Naga Hoho, is at its most vulnerable point. I think I do not need to elaborate. You have all been hearing and reading about it. But more than the high-profile, symbolical breakups within the Naga Hoho, I believe that actual conflicts between different tribes and within a tribe are the contributing factors in chronic disharmony and regular occurrence of of violence. Intertribal conflicts with the immediate neighbors and villages within the tribe compounded by Nagas' very notorious tendency to take all personal and village issues along tribe lines, make peace a very fragile experience among the Nagas. And I'm sure you all agree with me. So the question is, what can Naga churches, or Christianity in particular, since most of us, Nagas, claim to be religiously, by religious affiliation, claim to be Christians. So what do we do about this reality? I want to start my presentation by telling a story which almost all of you know about, but just for us to rethink about our reality and how do we connect our faith with the reality of violence among the tribes. This story is the story about the twin brothers from the Bible, Esau and Jacob, which, according to historians, biblical historians, took place in the year 2006 BC. So that's about, we can roughly think about a very long time ago. These twin brothers, Esau and Jacob. As you know the story, Esau was the elder of the two. Esau means red because he had a red skin and was hairy. And the younger brother was Jacob. We can tell by the story that he came up seconds after Esau because he was still holding on to the heel of the brother when he was born. He was named Jacob, and it means a superseder. You know, in the government, I suppose all of you who are in the government will know how serious superstition is. So you can imagine Jacob was called a superseder. He took the place of his brothers, his brother, through scheming, not once, but twice. The first incident is he offered bread and lentil stew to his brother in exchange for his birthright, because the brother was so hungry. He felt that Esau felt that he had no need of his birthright, and the brother was cooking. And you can imagine, when you are hungry, you will do anything. So if the same situation is faced by Esau, so he simply sold his birthright for bread and stew. Second time, he pretended to be his hairy brother and went to his father Isaac and took away the final blessing, which in today's word we can say that bad will. So what was supposed to be a prerogative of the elder brother was taken away by the younger brother from the father. And very understandably, Esau was very, very angry. And he said, as soon as my father is dead, I am going to kill my younger brother Jacob. You can read that in Genesis 27. So again, understandably, Jacob was afraid, so he fled to a place called Haran to be with his maternal uncle Laban. And he got married and he lived there. And to cut this long story short, God said, no, you have to go back to the land of your ancestors that was in Canaan, which today is the modern day Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, the whole region. You have to go back to Canaan because I have made a covenant with your ancestors, and you have to go back to fulfill that covenant. So it was kind of a reminder of his identity. In fact, his identity as a covenant tribe. But in order for him to go back to Canaan, he had to pass through a location which is now occupied by Esau.
and that location was called Edom. Edom was in the southern part of modern-day Jordan. So it's almost like the picture is like he was born in, or his parents are in Woka, and in order to escape the brothers' fury, he had to go to Imphal. Now God is saying he has to go back to Woka, and then he finds that he has to cross Kohima. So it's a very complicated situation. But he cannot refuse the command of God and the reminder of the covenant which God has with his ancestors. And so what happened was that after encounters with God, Jacob, he literally repented before God for all that he has done against his brother. But most importantly, he made peace with his brother. He begged forgiveness from his twin brother. He thought that a brother would not forget and forgive him. According to the story, the brother was coming to meet him with 400 men. That was a very scary situation for Jacob. But as you can see, when the two brothers met, after 20 years of hatred and separation, the story tells us in Genesis 32 that instead of being angry, they ran towards each other. They hugged and they fell on each other's neck and they wept. And they reconciled. It's a sign of reconciliation. And what did Jacob say? Jacob, after all the signs of reconciliation, he said, "To see your face is like seeing the face of God, since you have received me with such favor." I think that's a very powerful line. And I'm thinking, as I read this story, I'm thinking about this talk. Can Christian peace work lead to such end results between the Naga brothers and sisters? We claim to be of common origin. We claim also that we have unique history from time immemorial. But all these claims are put to shame by our inability to live peaceably with one another, to coexist. I have a few slides for us to think about. I believe that Christianity has a big role to play in establishing or in promoting inter-tribal harmony. Yes, as we all know, religion is a double-edged sword. This is true of all religions, and of course, we have known in history how Christianity has contributed to violence and also have been the instrument to end violence. This double-edged religion as a double-edged sword can be interpreted differently in our context to speak about a double-edged dove. One can be the sharp side that engages with the task of ending violence. On the other hand, Christianity can also be looked at as possessing a blunt side, whereby churches remain passive or indifferent to peace works. And I think that is a tragic reality of many of our churches today. Next, please. These are some thoughts. Why? Why is it important for Christianity to engage in peace work? I think I don't need to elaborate on this. You are all familiar with this truth about Christianity. It is something that originates with God. And we can see that in Christianity, the idea of peace, the content or the intent of peace is multi-dimensional. We have Dr. Keyho, who is an Old Testament expert, and who might tell you more. In the Old Testament, peace was considered as shalom, or wholeness, or fullness. And that has been translated as peace in the New Testament. And we will see that shalom, peace, and righteousness, justice are viewed as two sides of the same coin. I want to emphasize on this point for my talk this morning. I think it is a very important peace building or peace work is an important part of the ministry of the church. And therefore, I want to put the responsibility, when we say role or responsibility of peacemaking, direct that responsibility to the church. And with the slogan, mission as peace work. Next slide, please. We know that the church and the churches in Nagaland have been doing a human service in terms of building peace. And through different organizations like the Peace Affairs under the NBCC, then you have the FNR, and also you have an institution-based organization like the Clark Center for Peace Research and Action. And of course, from the Catholic side, you have the Peace Channel doing great service in terms of peace work and also peace education in Nagaland. But I also think that there are some practices that we are doing which needs to be transcended. First of all, I believe that one of the areas that needs to be transcended is that we have been doing mass-oriented peace work, but I think there is also a need to go to personal conversations. What are the experiences of individuals who are affected by peace work? What are the ways in which peace work will benefit them in a personal way so that they feel a sense of justice? And also, most of our peace work has been very political oriented. Even the Christian-based organization have engaged or invested so much of energy, time in resolving political conflicts. But I think it is also time to shift from politics to the other concerns of life. And I also observed that the peace work by the churches and Christian-based organizations have been very male-centric, both in terms of composition as well as in approach. And I think it needs a fair representation in terms of composition as well as in perspective of the other gender, the women. I have some supplementary pointers actually for the Naga churches and also Naga Christians in order to promote peace work. I think I will just go ahead. The first one is to, whenever we engage in peace work, the first thing is to formulate solid theological basis. Why do we do it? It's very important that we have a very solid theological basis for our peace work as a Christian, as a Christian-based organization, and also as a church. It is told that by one of the deputy commissioners that 80% of the inter-tribe and also intra within the tribe conflicts are land-based. And of course, the Crime Bureau also reports that in Nagaland, 1/3 of the crime are related to property, and that is also directly linked with land. So what should be, if you want to address conflict that is caused by land and property, what should be the theological basis? What is our theology of land? There has been a lot of talk on this aspect, and one of the very famous Native American quotation is that we did not inherit the land from our ancestors, we borrowed from our children. But I want to go a little beyond that and say that we did not even borrow from our children. It was given to us by God for dwelling. The sense of commercializing it, the sense of the need to bequeath it to our children, the sense of drawing our identity from the land is actually, I think, very defective as Christians. Christians needed to rethink our theology of our land and our identity. So there is a need to again inculcate a new sense of identity as Christians vis-a-vis our land. Secondly, people in the community and also in the grassroots level, they need to participate in the process of peacemaking. I think Christian organizations must take the community members and the grassroots level into confidence. A lot of times, much of the peace work starts and ends at the top level. And therefore, if we want to create lasting peace, I think the community and also the grassroots people need to be involved. The third pointer is to institute peace committees under every tribe, church organizations, particularly the church association. I understand that church organizations like the POM Association and also the Rengma Association, they constitute a kind of a sporadic peace committees whenever there are conflicts. But I think there is a need to have a permanent peace committees within every organization or church association that works to educate its members in the importance of peacemaking. It is I don't know, I think our NBCC secretary will tell us. Before 2011, NBCC had a full-fledged peace affairs department, but it has been stopped and reduced to a committee. I wish that that peace affairs department will be revived, because I think there is a great need to continue the ministry of peace building. And also the curriculum that are developed by NBCC for the Sunday school must necessarily include peace building. A new curriculum has come out. It was, I think, only inaugurated last Sunday. I don't know how much of this peace aspect is incorporated, but I think there is a great need, because peace building takes time. And therefore, I think it is important that the church nurture the young minds to love peace and to also work for peace. And I think Sunday school is a very important platform in order to educate our young minds to build and also to work for peace. And also, the next is to establish peace committees in every local church. I think especially in a more heterogeneous inter-tribe place like Kohima and also Dimapur, more urban setting, more intermarriages are happening, and also there's a high level of coexistence between the tribes. And therefore, I think local churches have the responsibility to constitute peace committees that will have members who are educated in the work of peace and also will go and educate and work for peace within the community members and also beyond. And I think in doing that, we have to also have members in the committee coming from different tribes, and also, I think most importantly, one of the missed opportunities are the female in-laws. Female in-laws played a very important role in the traditional societies. For example, in the Tamil tradition, you have Pukrela, and also we have, in the Chakasan, you have the Denis, and also in the Pumai, you have Nalum Mierfur. They are the in-laws who acted as mediators.
And I think one of the missed opportunities in the peacemaking process is not to have these female in-laws acting or playing the role of mediators. And I think the local church can play a great role by cashing in on these female in-law members in your church, in your community and society. And I think last but not the least, one of the things that we really need is to integrate peace work or peace concerns with our Sunday service. And I'm speaking here as a Baptist, very predictable Sunday services. But I think it is important if the church must engage in establishing the peaceable reign of God on earth. I think it is important that churches prepare their members perhaps once a while in the task of peace building. So whether it is in the liturgy, the service order, or in the litany, the prayers, and in the sermons, we need to have peace building teams. I think it is very important because we know that we can emphasize on Sabbath, whether it is on a 6-day, 7-day, it is not important. For us, we meet on Sundays. Once every 7 days, we remind our members to cease from hostilities. I think that is a wonderful message. Once in 7 years, sabbatical year, or even the Jubilee. By the way, Jubilee principles can be applied any Sunday of the year. Why wait for 50 years? And by the way, Jubilees have become wonderful opportunity of peace building. I was reading some articles of peace by Naga authors. They were mentioning about how civil bodies have been working for decades but unable, but when the church were observing Jubilees, they were successful in bringing warring tribes and also villages. So the principles of Jubilee need to be emphasized by the local churches in our Sunday worship. I think all these different pointers will help us to rethink about our role as peacemakers. It's almost towards the end. I just want to finish with, the next one, please. Okay. Mission as peace work is achievable when every Christian and every local church, collectively and individually, engage in the ministry of reconciliation by viewing it as a joyful duty to God and to one another. Thank you.
Religion bring about mission as a mission as a peace work as a mission. And thank you very much, Dr. Eyingbeni, for the illustrative presentation. Now we have the final presentation among us. We have Reverend Dr. Zelhou Keyho, who is a accumulation in the religious world, and currently he is serving as the General Secretary of Nagaland Baptist Church Council. In the past, he has also been an academic at Oriental Theological Seminary and Professor of Biblical Theology and Biblical Language. And now I give time to you.
Thank you, Moa. Thank you, Morung Express, for this platform. My acknowledgement and also respect to my two friends, Elias and Dr. Eyingbeni. And good afternoon, friends who are here to give your hearing and also participate in the dialogue. My emphasis today will be more of an analysis and also a positive critique on the role of the church. Perhaps a little bit of the successes that we have seen and also failures that we have experienced thus far. And put forward this question: why and how we are where we are now. And this I will answer from a churchman perspective. Let me begin by stating one of the functions of religion. According to Emil Durkheim, one of the functions of religion is to bring unity because different groups of people with the same belief system or same values, norms, tend to agree with each other. I don't know whether this is true of us or not. Perhaps we tend to disagree with each other more than agree with each other. The question, of course, is this: do we agree with each other because we are Christian, or we are in a Christian majority society? Paul Tillich, in his book Dynamics of Faith, said this: faith is the state of being ultimately concerned. This can be understood or constructed in two ways. First, simply stating that faith concerns itself with the ultimate, the divine, and therefore less concerned with the realities of life situation, here and now. The second construction can be this: faith is concerned about the ultimate, namely the divine involvement in one's personal life, and also in his or her surrounding, such as her relationship with the world. Let me go to the subject matter put forward for our consideration today by taking the second construction. Namely, Christianity should not only concern herself with the ultimate, the divine, and forget about her role in the world to which she is placed. The tri-relationship, God, man, and the world, must become the order of the church, theology, and practice. Allow me to rephrase the topic so that I can be more specific and objective. And I want to precisely state the topic this way: the role of the church in promoting inter-tribal harmony among Nagas. The church is not, of course, the only institution in our society, but in a Christian majority society such as ours, she has a role, or even a greater role to play. Having said that, we cannot be idealistic in our involvement, or even for that matter, in our construction. We are not into the task of creating a problem-free society, but the task of the church is to create a harmonious society where peaceful coexistence is sought and mutual respect is exhibited within the context of our differences even in our tribal fabrics. In this, the church has a great role to play. We admit that Christianity has brought transformation and reforms in our society, some of which are very positive. Yet, we also still struggle with many undesirable elements and forces in our given context. Instead of minimizing the problems, these forces are giving birth to more problems because pragmatism clashes with obedience. We all know where it is hurting and where the line has to be pulled straight, but everyone is talking but not living out, including the church. Let me randomly state the clashes in our society and the factors leading to a divide with the help of two writers, Ritter and Teams, who wrote a book together. Just leave God out of it. And the subtitle of the book is Cultural Compromises Christian Make. And here they are. And some of them I have inserted. Ambition clashing with honoring God. Pleasing self clashing with sacrifice. Self-centeredness clashing with service. Independence clashing with interdependence. Competition clashing with cooperation. Success clashing with faithfulness. Power clashing with submission. Pessimism clashing with optimism. Consumerism clashing with simplicity. Domination clashing with assimilation. Fragmentation clashing with oneness or unity. If we want to see change, harmony, and peaceful coexistence, we must change. We must reverse the order of things that is and that are happening in our context. In this regard, the church can play a positive role in her teaching, preaching, and education. We cannot advocate for a problem-free society or paint an utopian world, but we sure can work hard to minimize the problem. There will be always differences, but those should not hamper a progressive, peaceful social coexistence. If the church becomes comfortable without addressing the present issues of the day with precision, by playing a creative, prophetic role of correcting and rebuking, the church will be failing in her task. Two observations of unity factors. Each Naga tribe has its own distinctiveness in terms of culture and practices, but we must not forget that there are also many similarities. Therefore, rather than dwelling on our differences and pulling the string apart, we must learn the art to forge ahead where we find our similarities and not measure on our differences. 2. All tribes are Christians, we say, and therefore the Christianness in us must become a force to build our unity. What are some of the factors leading to disunity in our situation? We all know tribalism is killing us and pulling us apart. Let me give you 4 observations or 4 things to think about. Is it unequal distribution of resources such as jobs, power, education, and other facilities? Is it identity problem such as supremacy, superiority mentality of some leading to looking down at others? Why is it that Nagas just cannot get along? I'm sure you have asked this question yourselves many times. Why? There must be an answer to it. We cannot just keep asking. We need to find the answer. Is it because we have nothing to do that we fragment ourselves into groups for fun's sake? And 4, is it because we have too many leaders that we are spoiling the courage? Each wanting to protect themselves and do things their way? What the church must do in her endeavor to build a just and harmonious society. Walter Russian Bush, who wrote a book over 100 years ago titled Christianity and the Social Crisis, said this: Christianity is not just a matter of getting individuals into heaven, but of transforming the life on earth into the harmony of heaven. The essential purpose of Christianity is to transform human society into the kingdom of God by regenerating all human relationships. The church must be involved in the construction of society on a Christian principles of love and forgiveness. We must find our neighbor outside of us. And for too long, we have been playing the role of priests and Levites. The good Samaritan will not come out of us if we place ourselves as priests and the Levite. The kingdom of God is not a Christianized society. It is the divine rule in the lives of those who acknowledge Christ. It has to be received and not just be conveniently used as and when, but that faith must be in constant dialogue with the world, making an impact in the community and society where we are placed, making positive influence and bringing change. What worries all of us is, why in a Christian majority society, why all these problems we see today? Why are we so divided and fragmented? Why tribalism spirit is growing faster than any other thing in this 21st century? From the general sense, we must listen to each other. We must listen to each other's stories patiently. We need to learn the art of listening to stories. Nagas must learn to look at each other, eye to eye, as brothers and sisters, and not as tribe. Some of us must turn back and find some others who are left behind.